Hey! Yes, actual voiceovers this time! First of all, sorry for the long wait. I had slowed down development of the game a bit to not burn out, but I still worked very hard. My $3 patrons actually received 2 versions of this demo already, a half-finished one and one that lacks a couple of features that this final version has. This is how I'm going to do it in the future, in fact. If the demo is a bit bigger than expected, I'll just chop it in half and give patrons access to the unfinished version first, and the rest of you lot will get the final version a bit later. Now, just some important things and then we're on to the actual features. Number 1. Please report if you experience any lag, slowdown, frame loss or stuttering with this new demo. I know I did. Number 2. This demo contains a lot of placeholder sprites. Please ignore all the sprites for now, as they'll eventually all be replaced. And number 3, please consider donating to my Patreon. All of the money, all of it, goes towards the game for now, and my goodness do I need it. I'll have to pay a lot for sprites and music tracks, and I don't want to dive too deep into my own pockets. As a reminder, even the money from the $1 and $2 tiers goes towards the game. Thank you, and on with the show. I fixed the lighting bug when you die after completing a level. You can finally stop telling me about it now. You now throw weapons a bit further, which should help with kill streaks. I adjusted the GUI to scale better with certain resolutions, especially ones that are 1366 by 768. There's also an option to scale the GUI either static or dynamic, which scales with the resolution. This is only good if it's bigger than 1080 though. Blueprints were updated to also work with different resolutions. The view also centers properly on the map, and selecting different things like items or car positions makes the camera snap to their positions. I've also decided that blueprints won't use high score in the future, but favors like in Payday 2. You get a limited amount of favors per map, and items cost a certain amount of them. Some things cost more but are more valuable too, so you have to decide if you'd rather have 2 small things or 1 big thing. Player and enemy movement masks are smaller now, which should make navigating pits and dodging and charging much easier. Collision masks have also been reworked. Enemies and players now have a head mask for ranged weapons, which covers only the head, and a melee mask that covers the entire body. This means that you now just have to aim for the general body area with melee weapons, but not for the head. They're also bigger than before, but attack masks are smaller now, so you shouldn't really notice a difference. The player's head mask is also a bit smaller than the enemy one to make it a bit easier. Collision masks are also round now, whereas before they were static rectangles. This should make attacks consistent no matter which angle you attack an enemy from. Hit detection has also been slightly tweaked to hopefully be more accurate. Important! If you experience any inconsistencies with hit detection, such as hits not registering, please send me a video of it to hfbugreport@gmail.com so that I can analyze it better. Now, the biggest and most controversial change. There are no more bullet projectiles, it's all Hitscan now. Hitscan means that there is no need to wait for a bullet to reach its target, it just happens instantly. But there's still weapon spray, so it's not perfectly accurate. Why? 2 reasons. Consistency and making weapons more dangerous. Bullet collision was very buggy before, thanks GameMaker, because enemies could dodge bullets by just walking through them. They also got stuck on walls before or even passed through walls. Now all ranged weapons are a lot more deadly and also something to be aware of. You can still dodge them as scout or demo, and they're not 100% accurate either. Enemies have a hidden inaccuracy that makes them aim slightly in front of players sometimes. That means you're not guaranteed to die just because you stepped into an enemy's line of sight. Only headshots count though, anything else just makes you bleed. This also stops the bullets, so it's a bit harder to shoot through enemies with weapons that aren't shotguns. Enemies that are knocked to the ground can now also be executed with gunshots, which counts towards executions. This decision is final. I already adjusted some levels to accommodate for this change. I'll still be hearing feedback on difficulty and I might make some tweaks here and there, but I won't roll back these changes. Doors can also not be shot through anymore, as it made cheesing levels too easy, especially with Hitscan, and designing them too difficult. It also didn't fit the risky, hectic nature of the game. Sniper is the only class that can still do it, since taking enemies out from afar fits his playstyle. Other classes can still destroy doors, which exposes them by taking away their cover. And finally, I added screen shake for shooting weapons, hitting with melee, explosions and so on. I need feedback if the amount is too much or too little, especially from people that get motion sick easily. Now onto the class specific changes. The flamethrower doesn't build heat as fast anymore, but it also drains slower. Flames are more consistent and make it more obvious where they end. Air Blast has been reworked and renamed to Fire Blast. It attracts enemies again and doesn't drain heat, but increases it. Knocking enemies over sets them on fire, meaning they burn to death before getting back up. If you take too long to execute them, you yourself get set on fire. It's now as effective as a flamethrower and still works fine for single enemies. With multiple enemies however, it becomes more risky as you have to time your blasts and can't just spam them. Knocking multiple enemies on the floor may be useful, but it also means you can't get execution points for many of them or even die trying to execute them. Pyro also received a new subclass, the Arsonist. They have a gas can that can create gas puddles which can be set on fire with gunshots. You can also throw the gas can to leave a gas trail or make it explode upon impact. This either serves as a trap for enemies or can set the Arsonists themselves on fire. This is actually a good thing, as anything they touch gets set on fire too, like doors, weapons and enemies, and it also makes them invulnerable to melee attacks. However, they have to kill someone every 3 seconds or they'll burn to death. Killing someone resets the timer again. It's a very useful yet risky strategy that's best for speedrunning or for taking out the last remaining enemies in a level. Demo received the 6 pipe bombs back, and they now also fly further, like the thrown weapons. Explosive weapons also explode if you shoot them with a Hitscan weapon, which makes for more interesting traps. Enemies that are marked for death are now subtracted from your pipe bomb count upon respawn. For example, if you mark 5 people for death, you now only have 1 pipe bomb left when respawning. This reduces cheesing your way through levels, while still allowing you to use different approaches. Demo Knight executes slower now, and charge attacks recharge, slower as well, but they get refilled slightly when executing enemies. This makes charging at enemies a bit less powerful than before, when it was basically always the best choice. Heavy punches slower with his minigun and fires 3 hitscan bullets instead of 1 to help shred through enemies easily. Sniper has to be more accurate with the shots now and actually aim for the head. He also moves slower while firing and afterwards, making it a bit less OP. His rifle's laser now more accurately reflects where he can and can't shoot. Spy has 2 subclasses now as well. The first one, named Spy, is the same as before with a cloak and knife only. However, he cloaks and uncloaks half as fast as before, and bumping into enemies also uncloaks him. This should make getting out of tricky situations less easy. The second subclass, Double Agent, lets him disguise his enemies by executing them. This leaves no corpse behind and reduces his chance of getting detected. Suspicious behavior such as shooting a gun, bumping into enemies, throwing weapons, etc. drops your disguise. He also gets a tranquilizer which stuns enemies indefinitely, meaning they'll never get up again but aren't seen as a corpse. This works really well with disguising when executing. After shooting or taunting, Spy can't hide in shadows for 5 seconds anymore. This is to prevent cheesing levels by hiding in shadows and just picking enemies off with guns. When the level's alarm is raised, Spy can't hide at all anymore. This means that when the alarm is raised, you don't have to restart the level, but it makes it a bit harder than before. And finally, here's a list of all the various fixes and tweaks I've made, which I'm not going to read because it's way too many. I'm happy that I was finally able to fix many of the more difficult issues in this demo, which means that I can now focus on adding more classes, enemies, levels and even weapons. Development is still a bit slowed down because of my real life job and my other YouTube videos, so I hope you understand why it's taking so long. I can't tell when the game will be done, but I'm absolutely sure that it will be worth it. In the meantime, please play the demo and give me feedback and criticism. The majority of tweaks and fixes from this demo come from a single person who sent me literal pages of feedback. After all, the game is in open beta because I need people to tell me how it plays and how I can improve it. So please, tell me your thoughts about the game in the comments, on GameJolt, in my Discord's feedback channel, or send me an email to hfbugreport@gmail.com. And again, if you want to support the game and or me, please consider donating to my Patreon, since every single cent goes towards the game. And I really do need all of it because paying artists ain't cheap. For $3 a month, you get access to the game's demos and videos a week earlier and even get to play unfinished versions of them. Come on, that's gotta count for something. Also, consider commenting down below, sharing my videos and even subscribing. The more people see these videos, the more feedback I can get and the better the game will be in the end. Also make sure you're still subscribed and that you enable the bell, because apparently YouTube is having that bug again where it unsubscribes people or doesn't show them subscribed videos. Thanks YouTube, it's great being on your platform. But before I go, a big old thank you to my patrons that you could be a part of. 1Truma, 404, Amara Lemur, ALR Snack, Korm, Critical Flaw, Frozen Spaghetti, House, Jacob Larson, John Woodhouse, Ken Wiedesar, Miki Googler, Oleg Andrev, Parafiction, Shuri, Sprinklehan, The Sad Boo, Tommy Hesto, and unfortunately, not as always anymore, Xenomite. Please enjoy the demo and give me feedback. But for now, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day and goodbye.